42 million people live on ground that is falling. Not from an earthquake, not from a landslide. The ground beneath one of the world's largest metropolitan regions is dropping, up to 25 centimeters a year. A mosque that stood at street level 2 decades ago now sits with its dome barely visible above the waterline. Roads are rebuilt on top of roads that sank beneath them. Houses raised once, flooded, raised again. The cause is not geology, it is plumbing. Join Beyond the Limits as we trace how a city's own water system is pulling it underground, and why the 3 solutions built to fix it may be making it worse. Jakarta sits on the northern coast of Java, Indonesia's most populated island. 11 million people live in the city itself, more than 42 million across the metropolitan region, all relying on the same water system beneath the ground. The city was built on ancient swampland. 13 rivers cross it. All 13 are polluted. The soil beneath the surface is alluvial, soft, wet sediment deposited over thousands of years by rivers draining from the volcanic highlands to the south. Rich land for farming, but unstable land for a city that depends on the water beneath it. For most of the 20th century, Jakarta managed its water the only way a rapidly growing city on swampland could. It drilled shallow wells for neighborhoods, deep wells for factories. As industrial zones expanded through the 1970s and 80s, the pumping intensified, extracting from depths that had been unnecessary a generation earlier. The piped water system never kept up. As of 2023, roughly 1 in 3 Jakarta residents still lacked access to piped water. The coverage that exists primarily serves commercial districts in the center. In the northern neighborhoods, home to more than 2 million people, residents rely almost entirely on private wells, many of them unregistered. The wells worked, they delivered water, and with every liter pumped, they reduced the pressure holding the ground together. They are layers of sand, clay, and sediment whose structure is maintained by the pressure of the groundwater inside them. Remove the water, and the layers compact. The surface drops. In parts of North Jakarta, clay layers more than 200 meters thick make this compaction unusually severe once groundwater pressure drops. This is not theory. It is satellite-confirmed, peer-reviewed, and accelerating. And nobody stopped drilling. Between 1910 and 1990, the groundwater table beneath North Jakarta dropped from 12.5 meters above sea level to between 30 and 50 meters below it. An 80-year free fall, driven not by drought, but by demand. Once the aquifers depressurized, the sediment layers above them began to compact. In the most affected coastal districts, the land has subsided more than 4 meters in 4 decades. Museum Bahari, a Dutch colonial warehouse built between 1652 and 1719, now sits 255 centimeters below the surrounding street level. Not because the street rose, because the building sank with the earth beneath it. Satellite radar measurements show subsidence rates of 5 to 6 centimeters per year across wide sections of North and West Jakarta. In the worst pockets, Muara Baru, Penjaringan, Cilincing, the rate reaches 20 to 28 centimeters per year, enough ground to change the elevation of an entire neighborhood within a decade. 40% of the city now sits below sea level. A sinking city does not just drop, it becomes a bowl, collecting rainwater from above and seawater from the coast. Rainwater collects where it once drained. Seawater pushes further inland with every high tide. In 2020, flooding reached record severity, killing more than 60 people and forcing tens of thousands to evacuate. What was once an extreme event has become seasonal, and the city's first answer to the flooding created a problem nobody publicly acknowledged. Starting in the early 2000s, Jakarta began building concrete seawalls along its northern coast. By 2025, roughly 20 kilometers of barrier had been constructed under the National Capital Integrated Coastal Development Program. The walls were designed to hold back the Java Sea. They also trapped what was behind them. Jakarta's 13 polluted rivers could no longer drain freely into the bay. Floodwater pooled behind the barriers. Neighborhoods that had dealt with ocean flooding now dealt with fresh water trapped on the wrong side of a wall. The wall blocked the ocean, but it also blocked the rivers trying to drain into it. But the structural issue was worse. The seawalls were anchored to ground that is sinking. A barrier built at today's sea level loses function when the land beneath it drops 5 centimeters per year. Within a decade, sections required reinforcement or raising. The IPCC's 2022 report cited Jakarta's coastal defenses as an example of maladaptive infrastructure, a solution that increases the vulnerability it was designed to reduce. Ritini, a 35-year-old mother in North Jakarta, describes the cycle plainly. Tidal flooding reaches thigh height in her street. Motorcycles cannot enter the area. Her mother, Karitem, lost her own home to flooding and now lives with Ritini on a raised floor, one level above the street. After the nearest embankment went up, the flooding eased, but the ground beneath the embankment is still falling. Some sections of the seawall have already failed or been overtopped, allowing seawater back into neighborhoods they were meant to protect. A legislator in Jakarta's provincial council documented multiple breach incidents across the city's coastal defense line. The wall is sinking with the city it protects, and the government decided the problem was large enough to justify something no modern country had ever attempted for this reason. But before that decision came, someone tried to solve the root cause. The fix for groundwater extraction was obvious in principle. Give Jakarta piped water, stop the wells, let the aquifers recover. In 2023, the government awarded a contract to PT Air Bersih Jakarta, a firm controlled by billionaire Anthony Salim, to expand piped water access across the city. The plan? Connect every household. Eliminate the need for private wells entirely. The problem was the pipes. Jakarta's existing water network loses approximately 40% of its supply to leaks before it reaches a customer. The infrastructure that is supposed to replace the wells cannot deliver what it carries. A city spending billions to pipe water through a system that wastes nearly half of it, while the wells it was supposed to replace keep running because residents cannot afford to wait for repairs that may take years. Experts at the Dutch Water Research Institute Deltares warned that if subsidence is not stopped, the sea walls will eventually be overwhelmed. If the subsidence continues, the defenses protecting the capital will eventually fail. In 2019, Indonesia announced it would abandon its sinking capital and build a new one on a different island. The new city was called Nusantara, located in East Kalimantan on the island of Borneo, more than 1,200 kilometers from Jakarta. Planned as a smart forest city surrounded by tropical rainforest. The project was designed to replace Jakarta as the seat of government, ease population pressure on Java, and signal Indonesia's emergence as a modern, sustainable nation. Estimated cost? $33 billion. 5 construction phases extending to 2045. Former President Joko Widodo described it as a generational transformation. By 2024, a presidential palace stood complete. Ministry buildings were finished. A Swiss hotel opened. Indonesia celebrated its Independence Day in Nusantara for the first time. Then the political commitment began to shrink. Under President Prabowo Subianto, state funding for Nusantara dropped from $2 billion in 2024 to $700 million in 2025. The 2026 allocation, $300 million. Prabowo then downgraded the city from national capital to political capital, a distinction that did not exist in Indonesian law until he created it. Jakarta remains the administrative and economic center. Nusantara becomes a government campus, not a replacement city. As of early 2026, only government buildings and staff housing have been completed. Between 1,700 and 4,100 civil servants are scheduled to relocate this year. The city, designed to absorb millions, currently houses construction workers and visiting officials. Environmental groups warn that construction is clearing Borneo's tropical rainforest, one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on the planet. Indigenous communities have raised concerns about land rights. Academics have called the project speculative urbanization rather than genuine urban planning. $33 billion, 1,200 kilometers from the problem, and 600 miles away, beneath Jakarta, the aquifers continue to be drained. In June 2025, Prabowo announced a second megaproject. Not a new capital, a wall. The giant seawall. 500 kilometers of coastal barrier stretching across the entire northern coast of Java, from Banten in the west to Gresik in East Java. Estimated cost? $80 billion. Timeline? 20 years. The Jakarta section alone, 19 kilometers, is projected at $10 billion over 8 years. The project had existed on paper since 1995. For 30 years it was studied, debated, and shelved. Prabowo declared there would be no more delays. Critics raised an immediate objection. The wall does not address the cause. Groundwater extraction continues. The land beneath the wall will keep sinking. A barrier built at sea level today will require constant raising if subsidence continues at current rates. A survey found that 56% of the Indonesian public oppose the project, citing fears of environmental damage and loss of fishing livelihoods. Existing seawall sections had already collapsed in places, causing the flooding they were designed to prevent. $33 billion for a new capital that was downgraded before it opened. $80 billion for a wall on ground that is falling. And the wells, registered and unregistered, industrial and residential, continue pumping the aquifers that hold the land up. The ground does not distinguish between solutions. It responds to extraction, and extraction has not stopped. Jakarta achieved exactly what its water infrastructure was designed to deliver. The wells produced, the factories ran, 11 million people drank. The city expanded from a colonial port into the most populated urban region on Earth. But the system also reduced the pressure holding the ground together, allowing the land to sink until 40% of the city fell below sea level, and the capital of 42 million people became a bowl slowly filling with seawater. The pattern is not unique to Jakarta. Mexico City sinks up to 50 centimeters per year from the same mechanism, groundwater extracted from lakebed clay. Tokyo and Osaka solved it. Japan banned industrial groundwater extraction decades ago, and subsidence effectively stopped. Jakarta has studied these examples. It has not replicated them. Houston subsided for decades before regulations slowed it. Bangkok, Ho Chi Minh City, and Shanghai face versions of the same equation. Cities built on soft ground, sinking as the water beneath them is withdrawn. The ground does not negotiate. It compacts exactly as fast as the water is removed. Engineers moved water to build Dubai's islands. They moved a river to supply Beijing. Here, they are moving an entire capital to escape the consequences, while the extraction that caused those consequences continues beneath the city they are leaving behind. If you want to see what happens when a country reshapes a coastline instead of a water system, and what 20 years of consequences look like on satellite imagery, the Dubai Palm Islands video is on screen right now. Same ambition, different element. Consequences already visible from space. And if you want to understand the largest water transfer ever built, the south-north water diversion is right next to it. If this investigation changed how you see infrastructure, subscribe. We are not done. Watch that next.